everyone. Welcome to the video lecture series offered by the PG Department of English, Payyanur College. Today, we are going to learn the chapter titled The School for Sympathy, written by E.V. Lucas. E.V. Lucas is an English writer. He wrote short stories, short essays, plays, verses, etc. He was a biographer too. And in this chapter, we are introduced into a different type of education system that promotes thoughtfulness. So let's begin the chapter. The narrator tells that he has always wanted to visit Miss Beam's school, but he has never got that opportunity. And now he gets that opportunity and he visits Miss Beam's school. And when he enters that school, he sees two children, a girl of 12 and a boy of 8. And this girl is having a difficulty while walking. And when the author observes that girl, he sees that the eyes of that girl are covered with a bandage. That is why she is having a difficulty while walking. And that boy is helping that girl. And after observing these two children, the narrator goes to meet Miss Beam. And Miss Beam enters. She is having a round figure. Her hair is beginning to turn grey and she is having a very soothing type of appearance. And the narrator asks about the methods of teaching that are used in that school. And Miss Beam replies. She tells that the basic skills like spelling, writing, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division are taught to the children. The rest of the lessons are read to them, or sometimes these remaining portions are delivered to these children in the form of interesting talks. And the main purpose of the school is to impart thoughtfulness, not thought or knowledge. That means the main purpose of the school is to inculcate in these children certain values like citizenship, humanity, kindness, etc. So that is the main purpose of Miss Beam's school. Then Miss Beam tells the narrator to look out of the window. And the narrator does that. And when he looks out, he sees a large garden and a playground. And the narrator tells that he can see a lot of children, happy children. But he painfully recognizes one thing. He tells that these children are not healthy. I can see two girls with the same problem that I have met in that girl when I first entered the school. That means there are two more children, two more girls, and their eyes are actually covered with bandages. And these girls or these children are not able to walk properly. And there is another child, and that child is a kind of cripple or a lame because that girl, that child is having crutches. So the narrator tells that I think that that child is a hopeless cripple or a child with a problem with a lame. That is why she is having crutches. So the narrator painfully tells all these things to Miss Beam. And Miss Beam tells that no, these children are perfectly healthy. They are not having any problems. Actually, these children are observing different days. Then Miss Beam continues. She tells that each child or everybody in that school has to do one thing. Each child has to observe one blind day, one deaf day, one dumb day, and one lame day in the course of a week. So that is the method practiced in that school. So if a child is observing the blind day, that child is supposed to wear a bandage covering her or his eyes from morning onwards, or that bandage is there overnight, and for the complete day that child is supposed to wear a bandage. That means for the whole day the child won't be able to see anything, and these children will not peep because they think that it's a matter of honor, so they don't cheat, and they have to wear this bandage, and they will have to walk without seeing anything, and there will be helper children too, and these helper children would help these blind or these children or those children who are observing their blind days by describing things around them. So what is the purpose of observing the blind day? The purpose or the aim or the main goal is to make these children understand the difficulties, the problems, the experiences of blind people. So only by undergoing the same experiences one can understand the problem of a blind person. So by observing a blind day, a child will be able to empathize with a blind person, and then that child will be able to provide more genuine care to a blind person. And the same purpose is there for observing deaf day, dumb day and lame day. And Miss Beam tells that being blind is a very difficult thing, and observing a dumb day is also very difficult because there won't be any kind of bandage. The child will not talk for the complete day only because of that child's willpower. So it's a very difficult thing. And by observing these different days, the child will be able to empathize with people with different type of abilities. So that is the main purpose of this school. And Miss Beam tells the narrator to talk to these children so that he can understand their experiences. And the narrator agrees. And the narrator and Miss Beam go to the ground, and Miss Beam introduces a girl who is observing her blind day to the narrator. Then Miss Beam goes, and the narrator talks to that girl who is observing her blind day, and the girl tells that observing the blind day is the most difficult thing because every time one is in danger. She doesn't know what is going to hit her, and she is continuously trying to avoid imaginary type of collisions, and it gives a kind of stress to that child, and you cannot see anything. It's a very difficult thing, she says. And she tells that observing the lame day is also it's a kind of fun because you can jump and you can hop around using that crutches. But tying one's arm is very difficult because during the time of while taking food and all, there should be somebody to cut food. So it's a difficult thing. Anyway, she tells that she is observing the blind day and she will never peep because one should never cheat, she says that. And she tells that narrator asks about the helper child because Miss Beam has already told that observing blind day is educative to two persons, the girl or the child who is observing the blind day plus the person who is helping that child. So the narrator asks about the helper child who is helping this girl who is observing her blind day. She tells that okay, but she would be more careful while being a helper because now she understands the difficulty of a blind person. So she tells that the people who have, or the children who have already observed the blind days would become better helpers because they know the difficulties of a blind person. And the narrator tells that he will describe the surroundings for her, and she agrees that. And the narrator tells that she can see a girl who is talking to Miss Beam. And the narrator tells that that girl is wearing a blue skirt and a pink blouse, and she is having a light hair. And this girl tells that, the girl who is observing the blind day, she tells that that girl is Millie and she is the head girl and she is a very nice girl. And then the narrator tells that there is a man tying the roses. And the girl tells that that is Peter, he is the gardener, he is hundreds of years old. Then the narrator tells that there is a dark girl who is having crutches. And the girl who is observing the blind date tells that that is Bird. So he describes everything to this little girl who is observing her blind date. And the narrator is understanding one thing. He understands that while describing the surroundings to that little girl, he feels that the surroundings, the surrounding is actually getting more interesting. So he is learning to observe things by describing all these things to that little girl. And he also understands that he has developed a new perspective by talking to that little girl. And then Miss Beam arrives, and the narrator is sorry to go because he doesn't want to go. Then Miss Beam tells that, oh, then there is something in my system which is helpful, which is very effective. So the narrator then goes back, he returns after talking to Miss Beam, and he is going back with a great lesson. He understands the importance of empathizing with others. He understands that there is a great kind of value in the kind of education system that is being promoted by Miss Beam, because Miss Beam is teaching her children to empathize with others, and Miss Beam is teaching her children to develop values of humanity, kindness and citizenship. That means she is imparting thoughtfulness to these little children, and he has understood the importance of that perspective in that education system.
Now let us discuss the short answer questions given in the textbook. First question. What would be the impact of this write-up on the readers? Answer. This write-up would create a situation in which readers can think of redefining the acquired idea of knowledge, destabilizing conventional academic practices related to knowledge like the syllabus and curriculum, and also challenging the binary, classroom and the world outside from the location of empathy. Second question. What were the difficulties students experienced when they acted blind? Answer. The students needed assistance in everything when they acted blind. They could not see a thing. They felt they were going to be hit by something every moment. Sometimes they felt headaches just by avoiding things that probably weren't there. Third question. Comment on the use of the word cripple to refer to a person of disability. Answer. A cripple is a person of disability. The usage of words like cripple is generally discouraged since it constantly reminds them of their incapacity. Phrases like otherwise abled people, differently abled persons, divyang are suggested nowadays. But the disability movements all over the world prefer the term disabled or persons with disability, PWD for short, since they feel that the world and society disable them physically, socially, psychologically, and politically. The condition is one of disability, but the person is not. Fourth question. Comment on the function of the last few lines of poetry in the story. Answer. The last lines of the poem direct us to William Blake's poem on Another's Sorrow. Here the narrator talks about the sympathetic attitude of humanity. He asks whether one can see another's pain and sit without sharing the same grief. He says that it is not possible. It is natural in human beings to feel pain when they see others suffering. These lines underscore the main theme of this chapter 2, as this write-up also talks about the importance of developing the similar attitude among children. Thank you.